Death and Dementia video 27. We all know the outcome of the election. I'm excited about RFK Jr. going after Big Pharma. First couple updates on mom and dad. The place that they're living, they got a new priest, and it's the little things that turn into big things for mom and dad. And it's the little pieces of enjoyment throughout their day. And apparently, the new priest is great, and so they're having a good time with that. Some of the things that you'll start to find out, I mentioned some of it before. If you're dealing with loved ones with dementia, some of the things they complain about are just momentarily in their head. Sometimes for a short period of time, sometimes for weeks. Newest example: several months ago, mom was called me up, and she was upset that we were still paying for the newspaper, and she and dad liked it, and so that's why I got it and had it sent to them daily. But she was upset. It's a waste of money. We don't read it, and going on and wanted me to cancel this paper. And so I explained to her that I'd already paid for a full year, so I just won't renew it when the year comes up. Well, we need to cancel it now, and it's just certain things get stuck in their head, and it just keeps going and turning until their head moves them on to a different subject, or sometimes you can move them on to a different subject too. And so I just figure, okay, I won't renew the newspaper. Well, and she just called me yesterday, and someone's stealing our newspaper. So apparently the newspaper that comes from us, she's not getting, and now she's upset about it. So I've been really jumping on trying to solve some of these problems. I still do it. Kind of my bad, but you can take it easy on yourself and probably relax more than I have during this process, because a lot of these issues work themselves out. So don't necessarily just dive into something and try to solve it, because if it's something minor, it's probably going to end up working itself out, or they're going to forget about it down the road. Dad ended up getting a new permanent room. He's not in there yet, and it's one of those things I had to ask the people there, what are we waiting for? And unfortunately, it's an old folks home. You're kind of waiting for someone to create a vacancy, and we all know how that happens, unfortunately, in old folks homes. And so there is a room now, and that's being worked on, so we'll be able to set him up in his permanent room, hopefully within the next few weeks. I mentioned at the beginning of this, excited about the election with RFK Jr. And once again, I don't care if you're conservative or liberal, even though I'm conservative. We're all in the same freaking boat if you're dealing with someone who has dementia. But I think it's going to be huge trying to take on Big Pharma. And from what I'm hearing, they're already having meetings because they have things to answer for. And I mentioned before, I have a good doctor. I really like my doctor. And one of the things I talked about is several years ago, I was put on blood pressure meds, and I slowly weaned off, and I didn't know the side effects until I started reading them, and I had a lot of the side effects from the blood pressure meds, so I wanted to get off them. But one thing that they're really not trained to teach you, and it's partially not their fault because it's in the literature that most of us don't read, is that when you do come off these drugs, there are withdrawal symptoms. And so that's one of the things that, thankfully, my blood pressure is doing pretty well off the meds, but I am dealing with withdrawal symptoms from just this low dose drug. So a lot of the side effects, a lot of the damage it does, I'm happy to get off. And that's why having a good doctor and working with your doctor too. Another thing that's popped up for mom and dad is their cardiologist said their blood pressure was up, and wants them on a low sodium diet, and submitted the paperwork to the place they live. And my brother and I said, no, let's pump the brakes, because the way we want to work it is their primary physician makes all the decisions. The cardiologist, any other doctor that they get sent to, needs to defer the decision to mom and dad's primary doctor. She will make the decision, and no one else. And we've learned to trust her. She's a good doctor. And she makes a lot of practical decisions too, because even though you don't want to admit it, mom and dad are at the end of their life. And one of the things they brought up, I mentioned before, they want to eat normally. So the last, whether it's their last few months or few years, you're going to make them eat shitty too. So now they have dementia. They don't really get to live together anymore. They can only visit each other. They really don't get to go on walks as often as they used to. And now they're going to eat shitty. So you're just making their lives more miserable. Or do you let them eat normal? And it's one of the things that my brother and I are going to talk to the doctor about, because we lean more toward what did they ask to have done before the dementia kicked in, and that was to have as fulfilling a life as they can, and to eat normally. So that's where we are. I'll update you on what our decisions are when that finally happens, and I talk to the doctor. Until then, God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America. Thanks for watching. I'm hoping these videos are going to help somebody out there. Please look at the attachments to the videos. I've attached just the websites to some of the people who I speak to. And I've also attached my Amazon Associates links to some of the products that we've used for mom and dad, and some other things that look like they would be helpful for people in similar situations. God bless.